What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm Arris and with Tim Conley. What's up, Tim?
What up, man? Greetings, Variant Nation. Welcome back to the show, as always.
You know, I'm happy, Tim. I'm happy more than usual.
You're a happy guy.
I am. Overall, I think I'm a happy guy.
Relatively speaking.
But more so when we get cool Batman news or Batman content. We got some today.
Batman always brightens your day more than most.
It does. Mm-hmm. And we got the deleted Joker Arkham scene from the Batman.
That's
it was
right.
released earlier today, which is the Thursday. It's when we're shooting this. Matt Reeves also put it up on his Vimeo in 4K, in all of its 4K glory. And it's 5 minutes long.
Yep.
It's a 5-minute scene.
Yep.
We knew the scene existed. He said previously, about a week or two ago, that he shot a Joker interrogation scene with Batman, and he took it out of the film for reasons. And when you see this clip, you kind of know why he did it, because it kind of is too parallel to the Riddler one.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives stuff away of Riddler's, like, you know, his plot in the movie, because the Joker kind of explains it.
Yeah.
But thoughts, Tim? Do you want to kick it off? Because I have a lot to say.
I will gladly. I will gladly. And for those of you who haven't seen it, we also posted it on the main channel for Variant, so you can check it out there. I'll link it to this video somewhere, or the audio, whatever. I'm sure everyone has seen it by now.
Yeah.
But so when I saw the Batman, for those of you who listened to our podcast or our spoiler-free review right after we saw the movie, one of my gripes, if you want to call it that, or one of the things that I wasn't high on in the film, was that end credit scene with the Joker. It was it just didn't sit right. I wasn't thrilled with how the Joker sounded, the way, even in silhouette, the way he looked.
Not end credit scene, just like towards
post credit scene, or
was
it during?
It was during the film. It was just towards the end of the film.
Oh, I thought it was.
It was just one of the last scenes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Okay, it's been a minute. But anyway, that scene with the Joker at the end where they're in Arkham and he's talking to the Riddler. I didn't like the way that the Joker sounded, even as, through silhouette. I didn't like the way that he looked. You could tell it was very prosthetic. It looked unlike the Penguin in the film. And I think that was one of the things that kind of surprised me, is the Penguin's, Colin Farrell's makeup for the Penguin was so insane. Yeah,
it was great.
I mean, he was unrecognizable. You could easily have convinced someone that that's just the way someone looked.
Yeah, it was just
that was
an
just
actor
a person.
they got.
It was just an actor. And on the contrary, the Joker, it looked fake. It looked just prosthetic. Even in the silhouette, the little that you could see just looked very prosthetic, which I thought was very odd. But also just, it's Barry Keoghan, right?
Barry Keoghan, yeah.
Barry Keoghan, the way that he was talking and even his laugh, it was just it just didn't sit right for me. So now seeing this deleted scene, now that confirmed it for me. I'm even more concerned after the deleted scene than I was after that brief scene in the film.
Right.
Where now you're seeing like an entire scene with him interacting with Batman. And I got to tell you, I, of course, will give the whole thing because it's going to be a while before we see him back on screen. And we don't know what he's going to do. But clearly, he's going to be using this Joker in a broader way in the next film.
Well, not necessarily. He actually...
Yeah, I mean, maybe not the next one, but at some point.
Yeah. Matt Reeves commented on it, though, which is funny. He said, like, because a lot of people think it's going to be like the Batman Begins, where at the end you get Joker card and it's like, oh, that's the next villain. He said he's just more interested in world building, where he's like, I don't have any plans for using the Joker. I just want to build out the world, just so you know they exist, which I thought was interesting.
I mean, it makes sense. Either way, he's going to be using these characters at some point in a broader way.
I imagine the Arkham series that HBO Max.
I mean, maybe the Arkham series, or maybe just future films, because we know we're getting several. However, whatever it is, we'll have to wait and see what it looks like when we get to that. But at least for this scene, just in terms of the look aesthetic that they went with the Joker on this one, I just don't like. It reminds me of what is the Joker that is kind of he's more he looks like he's just torn up like that in comics.
Lee Bermejo's Joker?
I think so. I can't remember which now, but there's a Joker that I'm thinking of where he's just a little bit more torn up, and it was one of the
one that's in the art style of oh my gosh, the Batman. What's that? I'm forgetting the name of the story. The Batman Christmas Carol story. We just covered it in December. Why am I remembering the name of the story?
No,
Sleeper Mayhem, though.
No, it's not that one then.
Okay.
All right. Well, I can't remember. The point is that the aesthetic that they're going with, where he's almost Frankenstein-ish.
Okay.
Where in terms of, and I felt like, and maybe it's just coincidence, but it had, Batman throughout this film, I felt like there was some Frankenstein-esque
Batman Noel. That's what I was thinking.
References. Yeah, no.
Sorry, it was gonna bother me. I'm like, why am I forgetting the name of that story?
Batman Noel. I was trying to think of the Joker.
Brain fart.
But no, not that one. But in the film, Batman had his movements kind of reminded me of Frankenstein a little bit. I don't know if that was intentional by Matt Reeves.
Talking about Batman?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just in terms of like the way he walked, and there was just some things that almost felt a little bit Frankenstein-ish. And then the aesthetic of the Joker, he is so mangled. I mean, he just looks like he was in like the worst car wreck you've ever, he could be in. His face is torn up, his fingernails and everything is cut and bleeding. And his nails are like half gone. His hair is like pulled out all over the place. He just looks like, it reminds me of like a Frankenstein's monster type makeup aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that he talks, the way that he's portraying the Joker, the laugh. I mean, I want to put it be as nice as I can, but I just didn't like it at all. For so far, I'm like, this is probably the least. This might be worse than Jared Leto for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's saying some stuff because, as a whole, it seems like the majority of fandom widely considers Leto to be the worst live action movie Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I know what I'm saying.
It's pretty crazy. Like everyone's always making fun of Leto.
This is a very small thing. It's a deleted scene. We'll have to wait and see what it turns into. But so far, I just was not. I was actually kind of surprised by it, just how much I was like, oh, I don't like that at all. And again, I know there's a lot of people that are going to like it. That's fine. This is just my opinion. But I was surprised how much I did not like it. But at the same time, I was surprised I didn't like the Riddler in this film either. Well, let me say that again. I didn't like the Riddler as much as I thought I was going to in this film either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Well, it seems like you didn't... I mean, I think it's safe to say overall, you didn't like this movie as much as you thought you were going to like it, right?
Yes, that's true. But I did like it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Which is again, a lot of that is my own
personal
fault.
Taste. Yeah.
And I still have not seen it a second time. Neither of you.
Neither have I.
So, I still want to do that to get, a full, well-rounded opinion. But I did not, in the first time I see it, I liked the Riddler, but I did not like that portrayal of the Riddler as much as I thought or hoped.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to. And this one it's a much, much more in that direction.
Yeah. Well, as far as my thoughts, it's weird. So when watching this, because
did you like the scene overall?
Did I like the scene overall? I liked
the interactions between him and Batman and everything.
I did like it. Definitely not love it. Well, let me kind of just walk through like my process of like when watching it. So when first watching it, knowing that we were going to get another interpretation of the Joker from the end of the Batman movie where he's interacting with the Riddler and they're like cell neighbors. I'm like, okay, it wasn't nearly enough to like judge it, but I'm like, okay, this could be interesting because seeing the prosthetics and stuff, I'm like, oh, well, like he's definitely gonna have like be really teethy,
right?
Like, he's gonna have that big grin and stuff like that. So I'm like, this is interesting. But I mean, we just got Joaquin Phoenix, right, which was arguably the best Joker performance of all time.
Yep.
Then before that, we had Leto, which we all know how people generally feel about that.
Generally speaking, yes.
But then before that, we had Heath Ledger, which again, arguably one of the greatest Joker performances or just performances in cinema history, period. I feel like Ledger and Ledger and Phoenix will constantly be battling it out for like the top spot because it's like both performances are so good. I feel like at that point it's just personal taste. Because if you told me like, your favorite was Phoenix and then this, Mike over here said their favorite was Ledger, I'm like, yeah, I was like, I cannot fault either of you. Like I totally, it's just personal preference at that point. They're both amazing. So, and then you got Nicholson, obviously Hamill, all that stuff. But so it's like, for me, the bar now, and I feel like a lot of other people, I'm sure most of you listening and watching, it's Phoenix and Ledger. Like that's the bar. Like those two Joker performances are some of the greatest performances in movie history. I feel definitely comic book movie history for sure.
I would put Nicholson in that category.
You would put, yeah, he kind of
those three. I think all three of those are iconic.
Yeah, yes, that's
they have
definitely
their
true.
own unique iconic.
Nicholson,
to it.
That was kind of like, especially at the time in '89 when that came out, there was nothing, especially for comic books, nothing like that. No. But for me personally, Ledger and Phoenix like just skyrocket above even Nicholson. But anyway, so in my thought process, when you're talking Joker, it's Ledger, Phoenix. It's a high bar. Yeah, it's a very, very high bar.
It is.
So in going into this, I'm like, okay, I can't compare them. You know, I can't compare this, whatever take this is, to Ledger and Phoenix, because those were just like, those are performances that kind of change movies in a way. Ledger's definitely did. That kind of changed cinema. People who are not even comic book fans are like, dude, but Ledger though. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I would say it changed cinema, but it certainly it was. I mean, it was immediately put its footprint as one of the most iconic performances.
That's what I'm saying. Time. Like when you like people who aren't even comic book fans, when you're just thinking of like great performances in cinema, Ledger is usually thrown in there at some point. Yeah. So anyway, point is, when watching this, I'm like, okay, I gotta take that out of my head. And when I first watched it, because I've watched it like 5-6 times by now.
Yeah, I saw it a couple times.
I was like, okay, all right. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I'm watching it again, and it was one of those things I think where, as of now, watching it like 5-6 times, it's like, yeah, I like it, but I don't love it. And it's one of those things too where I kind of do want it, because even though it's 5 minutes of them interacting, Joker is out of focus pretty much the entire time, so you can't even see a lot of his facial expressions.
Yeah,
I
thought even the way that the scene was shot was odd.
I liked it only because I know what the intent was. Clearly, they wanted to keep it a mystery. They didn't want to fully reveal him yet. So I'm like, I get that. You're showing him to us. He's here. This is the person that will eventually call himself the Clown Prince of Crime, the Joker. But you don't want to give it all away yet, which is why we get. At the end of the clip, you get moments where it's in focus, but it's like first you get like nose up and then you get like mouth down. So we still don't have like a full like portrait shot of just him in his entirety. It's still like kind of like puzzle piecey.
It's true.
But so with that, I feel like that alone, I can't fully judge it, because while I'm hearing him and you're seeing it, it's still like kind of a mystery in a sense where, again, I can't fully see his facial expressions. I did think his voice was a little weird. Kind of was like, it's weird because at moments I liked it because it kind of had like that New Yorker Jersey kind of tone to it, which would kind of harkens back to like that classic criminal mob Joker. You know, like 3 Jokers. You know, you got like the 3 different personalities of the Joker from different eras. I also thought the actor Barry Keoghan, for whatever reason, I felt like he just looks a little young to be Joker.
That was one of my issues,
especially across
even his
Rob
voice.
Pattinson.
It sounds like a young person.
And I looked him up. I believe he's 29 years old in real life. And I believe Robert Pattinson is like 34, 35. So it's not like he's a young dude. I mean, I would imagine the Joker to be late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, or whatever. But I don't know. That's like a minor gripe. So I'm in the middle. I liked it. I didn't hate it. I kind of just want to see more, because I've seen people be like, this is awesome, this is great, but I'm like, I don't know, it's still not enough for me to get a full opinion, I guess, is where I'm at. Like, I don't want to like be like, yeah, this, because while it is 5 minutes of them interacting, the way it was shot to be like a mystery and it's out of focus and stuff, it still doesn't give me enough to like, I need to see him in a show and I need to see him in a movie, not 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And I think that's totally fair. And that's why I prefaced by saying we have to see where it goes. Yeah. This is just one scene. But this is all we have to judge off of.
For now, yes.
Right? So this is a 5-minute scene, and it's a full interaction between the Joker and the Batman. While a lot of it is out of focus, you get a general gist of what he looks like. And the Joker that I was thinking of, by the way, is the Joker, I think, from The Death in the Family, Snyder Capullo.
Where he ripped his face off.
Yeah, where he rips his face off. But there's a particular, I cannot remember what the comic is that it's in, but it's when he's in the Batcave with Batman. And his face isn't gone, but his face is like torn open and parts of his hair is
Death in the Family.
It is Death in the Family, right? Okay. So it's that's what it reminded me of, but a more grotesque version of it. More monster, like Frankenstein's monster version of that Joker.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of threw me off a little bit too, because like this is probably just by what we've seen, this is going to be the darkest take on the Joker, as far as like because
Yeah.
it almost had like a horror aspect to it, right?
Well, I don't know, man. Joaquin Phoenix is
Well,
pretty freaking
that's
dark.
what I was gonna. It's different, right? So like you have the Ledger one, where it's I feel like that's the most comic book accurate Joker, where like
Yes, I would agree with
we
that.
don't have his origin. It's still kind of whimsical, gangstery, but
Mhm.
serious. It's like
Yeah.
the perfect amalgamation of like everything,
Yeah.
right? Joaquin Phoenix is like the dark psychological.
For sure.
It's like heavy in its
An exploration
tone.
of mental illness, et
Yeah,
cetera.
so it's dark in that area, in that aspect, which is, an avenue of darkness. But this I feel like is dark in the horror aspect where it's like he literally almost looks like a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the psychological so much
That's
as it is
exactly
as
my
like
point.
it's like he looks like you were saying, his fingernails are coming off.
Yeah.
His mouth looks like it got like ran over by
It's
a
like
freaking
Mary Shelley's Joker.
Yeah, it looks like his head got ran over by a lawnmower a little bit with all the cuts and gashes, right?
Without
like
any
almost
doubt.
kind of like a tamed down Freddy Krueger, right? But what's interesting to me about that is Matt Reeves actually had an interview with Hollywood Reporter and I believe comicbook.com, or was it IGN? Some big outlet a few weeks prior, or a week or two prior to this being released. And he actually said that, he broke down, he let everyone know that, hey, I actually shot this scene. So he let us know before releasing it, like a week or two before, like this scene exists. I shot an interrogation scene. I decided to pull it out, but I actually, with one of my writers, fleshed out this Joker and how it would be in this world. And he essentially said that this Joker was born with a disease where he has a permanent smile on his face.
Right.
And he was forced to live with that. And people were like, looking at him like this from a baby, from, a kid, just like, you're a freak, you're this. And he kind of gave him this twisted view of the world where now like he's taking out all that trauma and like this curse of something he was born with.
Right.
And, when in his old age, kind of like throwing it back, we're like, this is ironic, huh?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna like I'm really like I'm smiling, but now like I'm gonna make the world burn.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting, and he also said in there that this Joker does not have chemical burns. So like no chemical burns, no acid, no ace chemical thing. So, but when seeing this, I kind of forgot about that for a second. I'm like, oh, so those burns, because he's got literally like sores and warts on his hands and stuff. I'm like, oh, so that's got to be from the acid. But then I remembered the interview I watched like a week ago. I'm like, oh, but Matt Reeves literally said that's not it. So I'm like, why does he look like that?
He's just sustained a whole crap ton of injuries.
From what though, right?
I don't know. I do know. We do know he did confirm. We do know that he used Snyder and Capullo's work as one of the inspirations for
Snyder actually, and Capullo got a credit in the end credits of the film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that part of it, I guess it's not, I guess it makes a lot of sense that he would have tossed to some of that, but how they're going to spin that, we don't know yet. My issue is I feel like, at least for right now, having seen 2 scenes now, with, this Joker, having seen 2 scenes, I think that I hesitate to say it because it's only 2 scenes that we've seen of it, but so far I land in the camp that I think this is a miscast.
Think it's a miscast?
I think this is a miscast for this role.
I need to see more. I feel like for me, I can't say one way or another because I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I kind of, the more I think of it, there's aspects I did like of it, and there's aspects I didn't like of it. His voice was kind of, a little off for me. Even, I don't know if I fully like him being mangled, but again, I don't know why he's mangled.
Yeah.
Or even just the way his smile is in general. Because there's a close up at the end where you see his smile, and it's just kind of like a cut up, torn up face.
Yeah.
So I don't know yet. I just need to see more.
Yeah, I'm definitely open. Obviously, I want to see more. I want to see where it goes. But this so far, I'm actually really surprised. I'm kind of at a loss for words a little bit because
you thought you were gonna love it.
Well, I was just expecting something very different from what was presented to us, and then even just the look and feel of it. Some of it we got, some of it was different. But one of the things that I've been a little bit like surprised at is the villains. I just haven't loved the villains outside of the Penguin. The Penguin stole the show. The Penguin was my favorite character of the whole thing. but he was such a small role in the film. Other than him, I did like John Turturro as Carmine Falcone in the film. I thought he was great. But I guess what I'm saying is the Riddler and now the Joker, both of them, there was a tinge of over the top elements in their performance that was a little bit odd to me, but just overall, I didn't like him as much as I thought that I would. But the Joker now, I'm really like, oof, I don't know that I like that one at all. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, obviously, we have to wait and see what they're going to do overall. But so far, I was not big on it.
I'm wondering too, like
now this is the part where all the big DC fans are like, "You're just a DC hater and a Marvel fanboy."
I'm wondering if because even though I try to block it out of my head, freaking Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix's performance are so good and so iconic that it's like, man, you have being cast as a live action Joker now is hard because everyone's gonna compare you to Ledger and Phoenix, which is nuts too, right? Because Phoenix is still a relatively new Joker, and I remember before we saw the Joker, I'm like, dude, you gotta compare with freaking Ledger, and everyone I haven't met a person who didn't like Ledger's performance as the Joker, and he did it. And a lot of people would even say he did it better. It's just taste
that was
at that point.
Before we saw him, though.
Before we saw what?
That was before we saw Ledger. It was just purely on him as an actor. People couldn't see that is that going to work? I don't know.
Well, no. Well, I'm saying in a post Dark Knight world, when we knew we were getting Phoenix as the Joker, it's Phoenix was going to be automatically compared to Ledger, and it's like, you're a good actor, Phoenix, but that's still a lot of work. And I mean, he did it. He did it. Those are the two kings of
again,
Jokers.
The Joker is big shoes to fill. No matter who you are, no matter who the actor is, it is a huge task for anyone to ask a performer to undertake, especially, first of all, because it's such a difficult role to play, right? It's got to be a mix of convincing crazy and genuinely scary, right? And then on top of that, you're coming after huge iconic actors killed the role in an iconic fashion, went down in Hollywood history as some of the best performances of all time, most iconic performances of all time. So that's a scary thing for any performer to take on, whether it's the Joker or some of these other big characters that, are now being brought back or rebooted. So I have a ton of respect for anyone who takes that on. So Barry Keoghan, he's got all the respect in the world for me.
I want to see more.
Taking that on, it is a talent. It's just that for me, I don't know if that's a good fit.
Because I also want to see him it's cool we got to see him talk to Batman. That's another thing I will say though. Seeing Batman side of it in the scene, I'm like, dude, Pattinson though. Just the intensity in his eyes. I'm like, that's pretty good. It's totally. I love his Batman stare where he just stares at someone. And you're like, oh yeah, you're crazy too, right?
One of the things
you are vengeance
for real. One of the things I'm wondering about Pattinson Batman is he has such a young face. You know what I mean? Just his natural. As he gets older, he's going to maintain kind of a youthful look, I think. And I wonder how that's going to play as Batman gets older and more experienced. If he's just going to continue to look long, or if they can beef him up and make him look a little bit more, battle worn. And
I'm curious, but I'm also curious. What I was gonna say is we just see them in the scene. I want to see this Joker in his costume per se. Does he have a purple suit? What is he dressed like? What does he look like? Does he have a cane? Is he got guns? I want to know more. That's what I'm saying. I feel like this is not enough to give a final judgment because we're just seeing him locked up talking. And yes, you could get a sense of it for sure. It's 5 minutes of them interacting, but it's not the whole picture. I want to see him kill someone. I want to see him fight Batman. I want to see how he walks, how he dresses. You know what I mean? In his element.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And we're not. That's what I'm saying. We can't judge this on the bigger picture. I'm just judging.
And I want to see him in focus.
Yeah, fully in focus. We have yet to see it. You kind of do at the end.
A little bit at the end. A little bit, yeah.
But it's certainly enough to really see him.
Yeah.
And get a full feel for. But purely, based off of what we've seen so far, what we have so far,
So you
not thrilled.
So not thrilled. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
And I liked it, but I need to see more.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I need to see more too, because I'm hoping that it gets better.
Well, this is a good jumping off point to, segue into the next half of the podcast, which is now let's talk about or rank our favorite Jokers.
Yeah.
Which is going to be fun.
I think there's two things that we have to, it's only fair that we have to table a few things.
Okay.
Or at least
like
get
set
them out of,
boundaries or rules.
Yeah, let's just get some things right out of the gate. Like, let's get some things out of the way. Cesar Romero as Joker from 1966. Iconic.
Right.
Right. Super fun.
Yeah. but it doesn't.
Right.
It's not the same ballpark.
Totally different type of performance for the Joker. Even this new one.
Cameron Monaghan?
Yeah. Barry Keoghan.
Oh, that's a movie Joker, though.
No, I'm saying him. I don't know that we can add him to the list.
We haven't seen enough of him.
We haven't seen enough yet. And so far, we're not super overwhelmed. So to be fair,
you mean
to him,
you're not super overwhelmed.
Well, even you said
I don't
hate it, like it, don't hate it. So you're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, I would think only be fair to him and to Matt Reeves, we should table that one.
Reserve judgment till later date.
Reserve that until we can definitively say where this ranks.
I feel like we kind of have to leave out like all the, because Cameron Monaghan, I feel like as well, from Gotham Joker.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like that's not fair as well, because though people may like it, I mean, that's not like movie blockbuster Joker. You know what I mean? I feel like that's more because Gotham was a very campy show. They did a lot of ridiculous stuff. I mean, even look at the portrayal of Bane.
He's the other one I was saying we should probably table that one.
Right. That's where I'm going with it, because, like I was saying, look at their portrayal of Bane. That was kind of ridiculous, and that's putting it nicely. So I'm sure many of you liked Cameron Monaghan as the Joker, or Jeremiah, or Tyrone. Sorry, Tyrone. Yeah, we should table that one.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. So I think to be fair, Cameron Monaghan Joker, Cesar Romero. Although I kind of like Cesar Romero.
That
I'm saying, like,
66 Batman for sure.
He was around for a long time. He was iconic. We'll table that because it's so different. The new Barry Keoghan, we don't know enough, and then the rest are, I guess, up for grabs.
No,
so it's just those three.
Yes, just those three.
Just those three. Okay, so we'll set that up. We'll set that aside right out of the gate. We'll say those three, one of which we haven't seen enough. One is it's totally different thing. It's its own version of Batman that's just fun, nostalgic, has a novelty to it. We all love it, but it's not the same thing. And then the TV version of Joker, I also don't think it's not a fair fight.
That is true. That's true. I do also need to correct myself, though. I said Tyrone. His name is Jerome and Jeremiah, because there's two of them in Gotham.
Oh.
They're like brothers, and it's this whole thing, but I just want to correct myself. If you were like, it's not Tyrone, Arris, okay? It's Jerome, okay?
You better call Tyrone.
But yes, I agree with you. So, all right. So I guess that basically means, just so we lay it out, that means we got Mark Hamill Joker, because he was a Mask of the Phantasm. That was a theatrical release. That is a movie Joker. It was animation, but I mean, it's freaking Mark Hamill Joker. It's easily one of the most iconic Jokers ever. It's a lot of people's favorite Joker. Definitely one of mine. So you got Mark Hamill Joker, right?
Right.
You got Jared Leto Joker, Heath Ledger Joker, Jack Nicholson Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Yes.
So there's 5.
Yeah.
There's 5 for us.
Now it's a fair fight.
Yeah. Now they can all fight it out from 5 to 1. So do you know who your 5 is?
In order?
Or do you at least know who number 5 is? Because I'm trying to think who my number 5 would be.
Oh, I definitely know who my number 5 is.
Oh, number 5. Yeah, I guess that's easy too. So it's probably Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
Obviously. Okay,
yeah,
so
Jared Leto.
Poor Jared Leto. I love Jared. He seems like such a nice guy too. I saw him doing
and he's a great actor.
He won an Oscar. He's an Oscar-winning actor.
He's a great actor.
But I'm seeing him do a lot of press for Morbius, and he seems so chill. I'm like, man, it sucks that people are always tearing you down for Joker, man. It's like you do one bad thing or one thing that people don't like, and everyone's like, given. I'm not a fan of the portrayal either, although I did like him in the Snyder Cut. I liked what Snyder did with him in the Snyder Cut. But overall, not a fan with him in Suicide Squad and all that stuff. But I feel bad for the dude. He didn't set out to do a performance that
No.
people weren't gonna like.
That's why when referring to like Barry Keoghan and what we've seen from his new Joker, Matt
Mhm.
Reeves' new Joker, I'm saying it might be a miscast. It's
Yeah.
not his fault. It's
Yeah.
not that he's a bad actor. It's just not everybody should play any role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Jared Leto, guy's
I'm wondering
undeniably just a brilliant actor.
and singer.
yeah.
30 Seconds to Mars.
So incredibly talented guy, brilliant actor, but not, it doesn't mean automatically that he should play the Joker.
But I feel like with him, if he had a better script, you don't think so?
No, that's just his portrayal of the character.
I don't know,
because
man.
even in the even in the Zack Snyder's Justice League,
Mhm.
it was better, but it still had problem. It was the same Joker, just toned down a touch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that whole portrayal, that's Jared Leto. That's not anybody telling him to act that way.
Obviously in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, yeah, I agree with pretty much everyone else. Where I'm like, this wasn't the best. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I did like his back and forth in that nightmare sequence at the end of the Snyder Cut. So maybe that's just my optimistic side being like, give us a Justice League 2. Leto can redeem himself. Also, I want Batfleck. But in any case, so I guess there's not much to say about that one because we were like, yeah, Jared Leto, number 5. So it's really all about like Hamill, Nicholson, Ledger, and Phoenix.
And Hamill's not really a live action.
He's not, but
He's not. But how do you leave him out of the equation?
You know what? This is kind of off topic, but I think because Mask of the Phantasm is a theatrical Batman movie. It is not live action.
It's not live action.
But if you're saying an actual Batman movie that was in theaters, that's my number 1 Batman movie of all time.
Well, what I'm saying is that I guess what I'm saying is it's like not a pound for pound comparison.
Because
there's a lot of fight references in this episode.
Because it was just a voice, it was voice acting.
Yeah, it's vocal acting.
Yeah.
It's voice performance.
Mhm.
So that is, while it's a skill of its own, it is not the same as having to portray the emotions and the visual performance on top of getting your inflection right and all of that.
No, it's different.
It's
2 different forms of acting.
Yeah, it's 2 different skill sets. Obviously they're in the same world, but so it's not quite the same, but it's so iconic and it's had such an incredible influence and impact on Joker as a character in any medium, I would say, that I don't think that we can leave it out.
No.
And I'm saying that for those people who would say, oh, well, that's animation. It's not the same thing. I just don't see how you can leave it off the list.
You can't, because that was going to be my next point. You alluded to it, where it's like his Joker influenced influenced Ledger. I'm sure influenced Phoenix in some ways. So it's like, it's just his Joker is so iconic in general. Like when I read comic books, even with the great performances of Ledger and Phoenix and Nicholson and all that stuff, the voice I hear when I'm reading Joker dialogue in a comic book is Hamill.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? So
that's
it's
fair,
so, but that leads us to number 4. So I know, do you know what your number 4 is? I know mine. You want to go lead? I know what number 4 is.
You go, because I need to think for a second. So I have them torn between 2.
Mine's going to be Nicholson. Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
Nicholson would be number 4. I mean, 89 Batman film, obviously. Another super iconic film, not just for the comic book genre, but in general. I feel like it's, it's like in the same blockbuster park, ball field as like Jurassic Park, 89 Batman, Superman from, Christopher Reeves. It's just an iconic film in general. Right. But yeah, Jack Nicholson, great performance, especially for the time, 89. Now, obviously, I was like a baby at the time, but even I know from just going back and being so invested with this, like that, his performance was kind of game changing in 89. Like there was never anything that crazy or eccentric in a comic book movie before, especially for like a villain.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so that was like a game changer where people were like, whoa. But also like at that point, just that Batman movie coming out, the previous Batman everyone knew was 66.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was like, so it's a much campier Batman.
Cesar Romero.
Yeah, a much campier Batman. So when this came out, everyone was like, dude, this Batman's dark. Like this is, it's all black. Like Nicholson's like crazy. He's leaving permanent smiles on people's faces. Like that's nuts. So
have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Right? So you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
So good. So good.
But yeah, I love this. I still think somewhere, I hope I have it somewhere. I'm pretty sure in a box somewhere. I remember recording this film on VHS.
That's what we did.
VHS tape.
That's what you did back then.
It was on prime time, like 8:00 at night somewhere. And I remember it said 89 Batman in like an orange marker. I wrote on the tape. I don't know why that sticks out to me. It was like, it's an orange marker. That's how I know it's the one. But and I would watch it over and over. Now, though, like my favorite Batman movie from a kid is Batman Returns, as far as live action.
Is it really over the original Batman?
Because I was born in 87.
Okay.
So I was still a little too young for 89. Even so I was still even like, watching it like 4 or 5 years old, watching it later. So Batman Returns was kind of because that came out in 92.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, much like the prequels for Star Wars.
Right.
I was a kid for that.
Right.
And that was being pushed in trailers and stuff. But anyway, Nicholson Joker, iconic, love it, watched it all the time. That Batman Returns, I'd go back and forth constantly as a child. So Nicholson Joker, who can argue with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you get into these top 4, and I think everybody that's listening and watching would agree. Top 4, it's really tough. Well, it's tough.
The top 2, I feel like are going to be really hard.
I think I'm going to have to land on Hamill at my number 4.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to land Hamill at number 4. He obviously...
That means I know who your number 3 is.
Yeah. So I think I can even just jump from that. So Hamill is number 4. Jack Nicholson is my number 3.
Okay.
So Hamill, obviously incredible as the Joker, the voice of the Joker. He basically was the voice of the Joker for an entire generation, if not 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just
the Arkham games,
brilliant.
he still voiced the Joker.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, the fact that he's still doing it, right, just tells you
a lot
everything.
of animated films. Yeah.
So just brilliant. I feel like he was on top of being Luke Skywalker. He was born to be the Joker.
Crazy. The freaking run this guy's had.
Unbelievable. So I would probably have to put Hamill at 4 and then Nicholson at number 3, just because Nicholson's performance as Joker, I just thought.
Did you see that movie in theaters? You probably saw that in theaters, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I did not. I saw that movie on VHS, just like you.
Okay.
But I saw it right when it came out on VHS.
So you went to Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Blockbuster. We rented it. But it wasn't just impressionable on us, growing up when it came out. It had such a massive impact on the superhero genre just as a whole. And it set a standard for what superhero villains could be in movies from everything after that.
Yeah, it
really did. And he was the first one, even though it was Tim Burton's like kind of circus, like kind of campy, style. He took it serious in a way that no one had really done that before. Like you said, just prior to that, it was Cesar Romero.
Yep.
And I mean, it was just
with the painted mustache.
Yeah, it was just like, it was played for laughs. It was very tongue in cheek.
Caesar, you gotta shave your mustache. No. Okay. Well, I guess we'll paint over it.
Exactly.
We'll paint over it.
So good. But it was such a great casting by Tim Burton and the production team. And then Jack Nicholson just absolutely just nailed it.
Yeah.
So Hamill 4 and Nicholson is number 3 for me.
So that means ours are just flipped, because my number 3 would be Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah.
So, and the only reason it's not higher is because I feel like, even though it was a movie release, I feel like this really, in the end, is a battle of the live action Jokers, just for all the reasons you said, because you get, there's so much more in actually, not just doing voiceovers, like actually being in front of the camera, right? Like you can't hide anything at that point. But everyone knows Batman the Animated Series is what got me into comic books and stuff. Yep. So it's Mark Hamill Joker. It's one of my favorite things in all of fiction. It's Mask of the Phantasm, great Batman the Animated Series, the Arkham games, the countless freaking straight to DVD or home video Batman movies that he voiced the Joker. It's like,
you got to pay tribute.
Yeah, it's Mark. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. You guys hear me gush over it all the time. Do I need to say more?
So that leaves us then to our top 2.
Yes.
And this is where,
I'm curious to see if we agree.
Ledger or
Phoenix.
Or Phoenix. So let's see where we land. You go first.
Okay. It's funny because obviously giving my number 2, my number 1.
Yeah, obviously. So you can just do both.
I'm going to say the runner-up on my list is Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
Joaquin Phoenix, because it's really
you
tough
can't
at this
go
point.
Wrong
like it's almost was like a flip of the coin for me, because they're both amazing performances, but they're very different.
Yep.
And that's what made it turn a little bit for me, just because I don't want to talk too much about Ledger. I'll talk about that later. But So I'll stick to Joaquin. Joaquin's performance was one of the best, I feel like, character studies we've gotten in cinema in a very, very long time.
Maybe ever.
And the fact they did it with the Joker made me obviously loved it that much more. I mean, we saw it together. We went through it. I just remember so many times being like, oh my, like, this is crazy. Like this, like the fact that
we just kept looking at each other like,
because
what?
I still say it to this day.
Happened?
The fact that then when that movie ended and we're talking, I'm like, so Joaquin Phoenix really is crazy then, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, you can't act that good. A part of you has to be a little bit crazy to do that.
Yeah. No, it was full on. We said it afterwards. We were like, does anyone have eyes on Joaquin Phoenix?
Because it was so believable that I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, there's a bit of you that's broken, Joaquin, and you let it out.
You better put that thing back in the box.
And it gave us an amazing performance. Like, there's so many elements in that movie. Everyone I'm imagining has seen it by now. The bit where like he stabs the guy in his apartment, and then and then the little person,
and he wants
terrified,
to leave, and he's like, you can go.
He's like, yeah, and you're just like, and just the atmosphere of it, the way the music is, the pacing, like everything about it, I'm like, because I'm
you could feel like you felt agony for that guy who just wanted to get out with his life.
Or that, or how you realize, like in the third act, that all the scenes with his neighbor that he's falling in love with is actually his imagination, and he's crazy. And by the end of the film, it's kind of ambiguous enough where you don't know, like, if this is all in his head. Was he locked up the whole time? Like, it's just, it's so. Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix did such a good job with this movie. Like, it's gonna be one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. Like, it's just going to be an icon now. Like we talk about 89.
Yep.
We're going to be always talking about the Joker.
Yeah. I agree completely. I mean, I can't, I'm going to let you talk about Heath Ledger because we're actually flipped.
Oh, I had a feeling.
We're actually flipped.
I had a feeling.
So my number 2 is going to be Heath Ledger. My number 1 is Joaquin Phoenix for a lot of the things that you just got done saying.
Right.
Heath Ledger. And again, this is not in any way saying, it's so close, it's so tough at this point between these two that it really, for me, boils down to the film, the overall film, and the overall focus on the character, because both of these performances are equally brilliant. And they have their own spin on the character. They're just portrayed differently and used differently in the two different films. So for me, it just boils down to the actual individual film. And as far as just like a start to finish mind-blowing film, I got to give it to the Joker. That was one of the few movie experiences that I've ever had where I sat in a movie theater and the movie ended and you could have heard a pin drop.
It was crazy.
It was crickets.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, what just happened? Everybody just sat there. It was quiet. There was no applause. It was just
I don't use this word.
Holy crap.
I don't use this word often, but wasn't it just like captivating?
It was completely.
You were invested.
It was so compelling the entire time because, again, you weren't just dealing with the Joker. You were dealing with this huge, real deep, meaningful look at mental illness pushed to its most extreme and its most dangerous point, right? In a world that also ignores it.
Yep.
And even pushes it further to the edge. And it deals with a lot of just like the chaos that goes on in our world, due to different forces and things like that. So you're kind of, it brings you face to face with all these questions that it makes you think the whole time. And it just leaves you kind of, really, it's like you said, it's compelling from start to finish, but it leaves you really thinking at the end.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, it has its own incredibly compelling, it's just captivating the whole time. Anytime Heath Ledger is on screen, you're captivated from start to finish. But the whole movie, compelling, great, incredibly fun, iconic film, but it's not quite the same for me.
Right.
And again, like you said, that's subjective. That's going to come down. Both brilliant. But Joaquin Phoenix's performance in that film,
dude, the point where he's in the apartment, like with a gun, and he's trying to like be quote unquote cool with it, and he accidentally shoots the walls, and it's just like the awkwardness and it was just so real. I'm like, I can't imagine what it must have felt like being on set.
Yep.
Like, because also imagine just being like a freaking like assistant, and you get to watch that happen.
Right.
It's like, wow, I'm watching like history being like made right now. Like people are going to talk about this forever. But yeah.
Oh, hey, the disease that he has where he laughs inadvertently.
And he's got a card for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that scene on the bus with the kid.
It's like heartbreaking.
It's just heartbreaking, but it's also kind of terrifying. And you know what I'm saying? And you don't know what he's going to do.
No.
Just brilliant.
When he finally makes it onto the Late Show, with De Niro's character. And it's just that whole thing where he snaps and he shoots him.
He's telling jokes, but he's also like, he's crying, but it's
crazy.
It's next level performance. And Arthur Fleck, man.
I know they're talking about a sequel with Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix returning, but it's like, and I want it, but I kind of don't, because I feel like I feel you so good. It's like, just let it be good and let me want more, but not get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like, that bar is high.
I have a feeling we're probably going to get it either way. And there's the other half of me that's just like, bring it on.
Yeah, it's like, I want it. Yeah. But it's like,
I feel you.
Where can you go from here?
I feel you.
So obviously, that means my number one is Heath Ledger. Yeah. Because my runner-up was Phoenix. For me, it comes down to where, like, I kind of alluded to it earlier, because it's so different. But the Ledger performance, for me, is the perfect mixture of, like, crazy, serious, funny, yet still comic booky.
Right.
It's the perfect amalgamation for me. That is the best mix that I could want.
Yeah.
As far as like a comic book Joker goes, live action. I mean, and everything about it was like amazing, right? Like even the look, the scars on the face, like, you want to know I got these scars? Like that is an iconic line now, and how every time it's a new story that how he got these scars was brilliant, and it just pushed the comic book roots of the character, where in the comics you don't know his origin. That's what kind of makes the character so cool, is you don't know. And they use that in the movie, but they added the awesome bit where now he's just always giving a different story of how he got the scars and how he essentially went crazy. And it was brilliant. And each story is always cool.
It really is.
It's like, it's always great. Just the bit where he's like, my wife got in deep with the sharks real bad and beat her up and cut her up. So I took a razor, but I put it in my mouth and I moved it around. And you know what happened? She couldn't stand the sight of me. Like, just brilliant stuff like that. It's when he goes to visit like the underworld, the gangs of Gotham, and they're like, "You think you could just steal from us to get away with it?" Yeah, like just little 2-second things where it just adds so much to the character, the mannerisms, like the lip licking, the look of him, he pulled off the bright purple costume,
dude,
and it's so like it didn't look goofy. It's like, oh, it's crazy. Like, I would not laugh or be like, you look ridiculous. It's just, you're crazy.
The scene where he dresses as a nurse
with Harvey Dent.
Yeah, Harvey Dent comes out of the building and is like, blows it up behind him.
When he walks in, he takes off the mask. Hi. Yeah. There's everything about, I have nothing bad to say about his performance.
You can't.
And I say it all the time. I'll say it again. The only reason that people like The Dark Knight as much as they do, I'm going to speak for other people because I know this is true. The only reason the majority, I'm like 90. Gotham? All right. The only reason like 98% of people like The Dark Knight as much as they do is because of Heath Ledger.
Oh, 100%.
Like if you take Heath Ledger Joker out of that movie, it is not the iconic film that we know it as today.
No, not at all. And a lot, you have to, I will be fair and say a lot of that has to do with the brilliant writing of Jonathan and Christopher Nolan.
For sure. They
wrote an incredible story for that film, just from top to bottom, even for Batman's role. But they just wrote a really brilliant story.
Oh, not the one where it occupies.
Yeah. And then, a lot of the things like the growl and the Batman, Christian Bale's Batman does and stuff like that. But his Bruce Wayne's arc and Batman's arc in that film is just really, it's still really good. It's part of an overall story that's just really well told. And they wrote a brilliant Joker story. Really brilliant.
So good.
And then Heath Ledger, of course. It's so unfortunate that we lost him so young.
Do you still remember the rumors that because the third film wasn't going to be Bane, they were going to do Joker and Harley Quinn.
Right.
Could you imagine seeing that Joker with a Harley Quinn? Like, I would have, man.
I think that's a lot of what happened with The Dark Knight Rises. I think they had to go a completely different route. Or that's some of the hints that we've gotten that
They were
have to go a
saying
very different route.
the late Brittany Murphy too.
Mhm.
They were eyeing her, or rumors were for Harley. She would have been
That would have been amazing.
along Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, both
Man.
gone way too young.
Yeah.
But yeah, his from start to finish, it was another performance. When the movie ended, you were just all you could say was "Wow."
I remember that. We were living in Florida at the time.
Yep.
We saw it on West Palm Beach.
Yep,
It was a city
right.
place.
I think so. Yeah.
City place. I remember walking out and being like, "What did I just watch?"
I mean, literally, it's the telltale sign of a great film or great performances when you walk out and you immediately want to buy another ticket.
Dude.
You're just like, get me back in line right now. I'll watch that again right now.
So the opening bank robbing scene.
The bank robbery.
The bank robbery.
Yeah.
But the one that always sticks out to me is when he walks in for the first time when they're all having that underground like gang meeting, and he's basically like,
that sets the tone.
Because that whole scene, I'm like, wow. It's like if you can kill him, why haven't you done it yet? If you're good at something, you don't do it for free. You never do it for free.
What happened? Your balls fall off?
Dude, so many, or like, want to see a magic trick? Like that 5-minute scene alone has so many iconic lines.
Brilliantly written. Dude. And just perfectly performed.
Every time they're calling him like a freak or a clown, and he just pauses for a second, like, because
grits his teeth.
You could just tell that, like, he's been called that or made fun of his whole life, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, you know what I mean? Just so good.
Another scene in that movie that so perfectly tells you who this guy is when he gets all the cash and then he lights it on fire.
Yes.
All while saying
it all burns.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Yes.
Everything burns.
But it's like that's the thing. Why it's such a good performance, because I feel like every time he's on screen, when like Batman's on the Bat Pod and he, Joker's in the middle of the street with the machine gun saying, "Come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on.
Yeah.
Hit me. I want you to do it." It's just like, oh man.
Just those little turns, right?
Yeah.
Those little turns of the character. Just it's so difficult between these two because each one in its own right is such a brilliant and perfectly performed Joker. It's very difficult. It really does come down to like personal preference on the overall film, because it's just, you can't say a bad thing about either of them.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I've been saying it over and over, but when it comes to Joaquin and Ledger, I feel like that is personal preference, flip of the coin, because I completely agree with you, like with the Phoenix thing, but Ledger as well. It's just, that's kind of just, again, for me, it's a perfect amalgamation. So that puts it like a hair just like above Phoenix.
Gives them like a paper thin edge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, but it's crazy to see what we're going to get from here, though, because we've had several Jokers after them. So it's like, it's kind of weird, too, like with having such iconic performances from the Joker. I mean, just all the ones we mentioned in the top 5 alone. But it's like, yet they still just keep doing the Joker over and over live action.
I don't know. As of right now, I mean, I will be shocked if we get another iconic Joker performance for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Phoenix thing kind of came out of nowhere too. And that also,
that was lightning in the bottle stuff.
And it was also completely detached from like, there was no Batman in that film. No. There was nothing else.
No, like, it was a character study.
Yeah. It was in Gotham. Then at the end of the film, you have like the whole, Crime Alley thing with Bruce's parents getting shot. So it's in that world, but it's like, it's also like, wait, so Bruce was like 10 years old when his parents died, and you're already like in your 40s. Like, is this the same Joker? Like, there's a lot of ambiguity to it. Yeah. So, but that's kind of what makes it so cool. It's like an Elseworlds, comic book movie.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So we'll see where it goes from here. But we have gotten incredible Jokers. I think in the Batman world, I think everybody would agree. Batman as a comic book character, we have been the most fortunate with Batman. And Batman, his villains, all of that stuff.
And we're getting lots more to come.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to come. But as far as being comic book fans and stuff like that, whether you're DC or Marvel, I would say just overall, we've eaten the best at the Batman table over the years.
We're getting Keaton and Batfleck.
Although Spider-Man's starting to give a run for money.
He is. But we're getting Keaton and Batfleck in a movie together in The Flash in 2023. Right. Keaton's going to be Batman again in Batgirl. Obviously, we're getting sequels for the Batman.
Yep.
We're getting spin-off shows for the Batman. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Batman.
There's a lot of Batman.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah,
I'm not mad about it. Yeah, it's because now it's like everyone, it's like, well, you don't like Batfleck, you got Keaton. You don't like Keaton, you got Pattinson. It's like, you have plenty to choose from now.
Now just bring back Superman.
Yeah. Oh, poor Cavill.
There we are. Right back.
Cal was like,
right back to Superman.
Cal was like, so you could have like 10 different Batman, but you can't have another Superman. Just not.
You got Batgirl coming,
dude. Anyway,
whatever.
But I think that brings today's podcast to a close.
Yeah, I think that wraps us up. Today was a very Joker-centric podcast.
Inadvertently, it's just with the drop of that deleted scene, it kind of just made sense.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense to do that. And we are going to do the same thing with Batman movies.
That's
now
gonna be harder.
That the Batman has come out, we're going to wait when we see that for a second time. Maybe around when it drops onto HBO and streaming.
April 19th.
Yeah, we'll break down our favorite, our ranking of all the Batman films live action.
That's hard.
Maybe we should probably include Batman 66 in that one.
He got a movie.
Yeah, he did. He got a movie.
He's got shark repellent.
So we'll do that then.
But with that said, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.